So Madeline, based on your experiences, what are some issues with the way employees are treated when they're transitioning an organization?
The biggest problem I see is that organizations just have not educated themselves on transgender employees and what it means to have an employee go through transition in the workplace. Many organizations, I guess, do not feel that they need this. They just feel like it's not going to happen in their place. However, statistically speaking, at least 1 in 100 persons is a transgender person, population-wise. That's the best estimates that we have on the numbers or the percentage of the population. So if you're an employer and you have 100 employees, or if in the lifetime of your business you do have or have had or are going to have 100 employees, chances are you're going to encounter an employee who is transgender.
Now, based on your legal background, what would you say are some common missteps organizations make when they're actually faced with transitioning employees? What are some specific examples?
Well, I've seen employers who will fire someone immediately, maybe not necessarily on the spot, but within a day or within a week of the employee coming out. They just say adios, no explanation whatsoever. I don't know if they feel like they can get away with it, or feel like that it's not illegal to do something like that. Or maybe they even know it's illegal and they just figure we don't want to deal with it anyway, and so we're going to risk the lawsuit and just get rid of this person. That's one of the big things that I see most frequently, is just the immediate firing. Probably almost as frequently, not quite as much, I've seen employees come out and the company says, okay, we're going to work with you, but then all of a sudden they start finding little issues and little reasons, and they start to begin to build and to document and prepare for dismissal, for cause. So they start creating reasons. It's pretext, basically. They know that they want to get rid of this person. They don't want to have them working in their organization. So what they're doing is systematically going about finding ways to create problems that were not problems before. So they set up the employee for failure and set up a constructive dismissal, essentially. Well, it's not necessarily constructive, it is a dismissal, but they construct ways and create ways as a pretext for getting rid of somebody, when the real reason is that the transition is the reason that they wanted to get rid of this person. Another thing I've seen, and this is probably one of the worst ways I've seen to handle things, and really the most underhanded, is when an employer acts very friendly and says, okay, we're going to support you in this, we want to bring you along. They go through a plan, creating a plan for transition of the employee, which usually includes the employee taking a week of leave while the employer addresses their coming out and return to work as the new identity with their coworkers, with their bosses, with management, and all of this. But then they will turn around and at that 11th hour, then all of a sudden they're ready to offer a severance package to the employee and say, oh, there's a school of thought that you might be better off if you go somewhere else. As your new identity, you have a chance to create a new work history as your new self, and it's a clean slate for you, and we just think it's better for you to do this. And that's really very underhanded, because what you've done is you've led the employee all along thinking they're in a safe place, they're going to be able to keep their job, and you're setting them up and you're putting them in a position where if they go through and follow through on the transition now, they're faced with unemployment on top of this. And in a market where it's already hard enough for someone to get in the door in the first place, being transgender is another mark against you. And while I do believe it is illegal to fail to hire someone because they're transgender, we all know it's very difficult to prove failure to hire for any biased reason, any discriminatory reason. There's always so many ways to easily cover it up. So it's really kind of underhanded for an employer to go through that process and say, we're going to support you, but then, we're going to offer you a severance package that might be just 2 weeks of pay or 1 month of pay, when someone's facing potentially a year, 2 years, or 3 years of unemployment, if they accept that kind of deal to walk away.
What are some ways, there's some things that you can do to help us make sure that we set people up for success? How can they get it right when employees are transitioning?
Well, we can provide that education piece to employers who need to know to be ready for an employee who's going to come out and transition in the workplace. We can help them establish a plan, a cooperative plan with the employee, where we encourage the employee to come out to HR and begin a dialogue and explain to the organization, this is who I am, this is who I need to be. And we also help the employers create safe spaces for employees to be themselves at work, to be themselves 100%, because we all know that when someone can bring their entire self, their entire being to work and be themselves, they're a much more productive employee, and that's better for everyone's bottom line. So we're talking about dollars and cents to some degree. So what we're looking at doing is we can help you provide that plan, put that plan in place of cooperation, where it starts with the employee coming out to HR, developing a timeline for a go live date where the employee spends certain time getting certain things ready, you get things in order, and perhaps they even take a week off of leave of their vacation time. And during that week, prior to their go live date, that's when the employer, or when we would come in and work with your staff to educate the coworkers, educate the middle management, the first line and second line supervisors, and the upper management also. And this is who this person is, this is what they're going through, this is what needs to happen. This is how you can create a safe space and create a productive work environment that supports not only the transitioning employee, but also supports the employees that they're going to have contact with and be working with on a daily basis. We're not blind to the fact that this is a transition for them as well. They've known, for example, they've known Matthew for 10, 15 years of a person's work life or career. And then all of a sudden, well, Matthew's going to come back to work as Madeline. And that's a change for other people who've been around this person for that many years. So it's a transition for them as well. It's not one they necessarily want, but they're going to have to deal with it. And the right answer is support for the person who is transitioning. If you think it's hard for the persons who are affected collaterally by the transition, it's at least 2-3 times as hard easily for the person who's going through the transition to face that fear and that anxiety over, am I going to be accepted? Am I going to still be a part of the team? Am I still going to be looked at the same way? Am I going to have the same level of credibility? Are people still going to treat me as a productive employee, as an able member of the team?